Hello everybody, and thanks for watching the Cardboard Dungeon. My name is Pat, and we are reviewing Mint Tin Mini Apocalypse from designer David Miller and publisher SubQuark Games. Now, as you can see, this game comes in a very small mint tin, hence the title. And micro games, of course, have been all the rage lately, popularized by Love Letter, which kicked off this trend a couple of years ago, but as you can see, this Mint Tin game makes Love Letter look like a big box game. Everything you need to play the game is in this tiny tin. Now, before I show you the contents and start talking about the game, I do need to put a disclaimer out here. This is a prototype version of the game, although most of it looks pretty close to final components, but anything and everything is subject to change for the final version of the game. So keep that in mind. Now I'm going to lay out the setup of the game for you and show you how it plays. Okay, so here's what your setup of the game at the start looks like. The premise of this game is that the apocalypse has happened. There's this monster rampaging and is going to kill everybody if you can't get into the fallout shelter, which is the tin here, and slam the door shut and save yourself. So the goal of this game is to get at least 4 of your meeps, you've got 5 at the beginning, along with one of these supply crates into the fallout shelter, and then close the lid, which of course dooms everybody on the outside, but saves your people, so that's all that matters. And you win the game if that happens. So each player begins with 5 meeps. 4 of them have been knocked down before the start of the game, maybe by the appearance of the rampaging monster. And how the game works is, this is a real-time dice rolling game. Both players are going to be frantically rolling their dice as fast as they can, and every time you roll a result of a 7 on the dice, you get 1 action. So how many actions you get during the game depends on how fast you can roll and how lucky you are with the dice rolls. Now, as any gamer worth his or her salt knows, 7 is the most common number on a pair of standard D6s, so you will get a decent amount of actions in the game, but they're dice, so you can have long, dry streaks where you're not getting any 7s. The game is very luck dependent, of course, but there's also a surprisingly deep amount of strategy here. So, okay, every time you roll a 7, you get 1 action. So let me tell you what these actions are. First action you can do is to stand up one of your meeps that's on his feet. Another action you can do is to knock down an opponent's meep who's outside of the fallout shelter, so that they have to spend an action to stand them back up again. The next action you can do is to move one of your meeps into the fallout shelter. Now, to do that, they have to be standing up, so that's obviously why you want to get these guys on their feet. Another action is, if you have at least one of your meeps in the fallout shelter, and you roll a 7, you can kick out an opponent's meep. Put them back outside, they stay on their feet, but now they're out of there. The fallout shelter has a limit of 7 meeps, so like I said, the goal is to get 4 of yours in the fallout shelter. Both players obviously can't have 4 meeps in there, because that would be 8, and that's too many. Okay, so once you have at least 2 meeps in the fallout shelter, you can pair them up into a recon team, and as an action, you can send them out, and they're going to be scouting for the supply crate. And then as another action, you can have them pick up a supply crate and bring it back into the fallout shelter. Now, these meeps, when they're outside of the shelter, are susceptible to the other actions, so your opponent can knock one down for an action. You have to spend an action to stand one back up. But once you get that supply crate into the fallout shelter, that's part 1 of the 2 objectives you need to win. Now, it doesn't matter who brings the supply crate in. If your opponent gets 4 people in there and you've already brought the supply crate in, well, they can close the lid and win the game, and you did that hard work. So there's a real tug of war going on in this game where you're trying to kick people out and make sure that that doesn't happen. But the monster, who is benign for most of this, maybe he's watching amusingly as these meeps fight each other and try to get into this fallout shelter or whatnot, but as soon as they get a supply crate into the fallout shelter, he takes notice and activates. And what that means is, you can see the monster has a die here. It starts on a 6. From that point on, once there's a supply crate, and that's the standard rules of the game, there's different difficulty levels that will activate the monster earlier, but this is the standard one. When the supply crate gets into the fallout shelter, he activates. And from that point on, anytime you roll doubles of the same number as on the monster die, either player does this, it's going to spin the monster die down 1 number. So it's going to go from 6 to 5, from 5 to 4. And that's going to continue moving down like that until, of course, it gets to 1. And at that point, if either player rolls Snake Eyes, the monster rampages, he gets into the fallout shelter, he kills everybody in there, game over. However, if you have a meep outside of the fallout shelter and somebody rolls snake eyes, you can have them heroically sacrifice themselves, jump in front of the monster, and allow themselves to be eaten to distract the monster momentarily, and then they're out of the game, and then the next snake eyes that happens is going to end the game. So that's the gist of Mint Tin Mini Apocalypse. Now, this does come with an expansion. This prototype version gave me a penny, but this is going to be a customized metal disc that's going to represent a manhole cover. And if you play with this expansion, it just gives you a couple more actions you can do. You can get a meep on top of this. You can fight for it. But if you have a meep on top of the manhole cover and you roll a 7, you can throw it at the monster to knock him down, which will temporarily stop his countdown, because the next time somebody rolls the matching doubles, he's going to get back on his feet. Or you can throw it at the fallout shelter when it's closed to pop it back open and keep the game going. And then once thrown, the manhole cover is out of the game. Now, this expansion does beg some questions, such as, who are these meeps and why are they so strong that they can lift and throw a manhole cover? What's this monster that's all of a sudden small and fragile enough to be knocked down by a manhole cover? And if these meeps are so strong and there's 10 of them, why aren't they just attacking and ripping apart this monster? But I digress. Maybe that's just the kind of thing that I think about when playing games. It's not important at all. This expansion does add a little more strategy to the game. You've got something else to think about now when taking your actions. But that is how you play Mint Tin Mini Apocalypse. Okay, so I've taught you how to play Mint Tin Mini Apocalypse, shown you what the game's all about. Now, here's my review of the game. And I'll be honest, when I first read through the rules of this game, I thought to myself, that's it. You're rolling and trying to get 7s. That seems like not much of a game. But as usual, when you're judging a book by a cover, you can't read the rules and get a feel for how this game works. The fun and engagement of this game comes from the real-time aspect and the changing state of the game. So every time you roll that 7, you can't just carry out whatever it was you thought you were going to do. So you might think, well, I've got my meeps are on the ground. I have to stand them up. I'm going to do that next time I get an action. Well, next time you get an action, your opponent may have rolled 3 7s, and now she's got 3 of her guys in the fallout shelter, and you only have 1. And suddenly it's more important to kick one of hers out or get another one of your guys in there rather than stand one of your guys up. So the constantly shifting state of the game is something that you have to keep in mind. You also have to roll fast. You have to think fast, because if you spend too much time trying to decide what to do, your opponent's going to roll a couple more 7s, and all of a sudden she's got 4 guys in there and she's sent somebody out for the supply crate and she's about to win the game. So it's really a fast, fun, constantly engaging game. There's no downtime whatsoever. It plays as fast as you can roll the dice and take your actions. And it's a real tug of war back and forth. It's a real mean game. If you're opposed to nastiness in games, you might want to steer clear, because this is about as nasty as it gets. You're interfering with your opponent as a major part of the way the game plays. You're knocking their people down. You're kicking them out of the fallout shelter. Ultimately, you're trying to slam close the door and stick them outside with a monster. So, you both understand that going in. It's fun and funny, and if you make it funny, haha, you kicked my guy out, and now, I'm going to lose. But I was I'll be honest, I was surprised by the depth of the strategy to this game, because you really, as you play, you realize that there are some different tactics that can get you to victory that you might not think about. Like, for example, it doesn't matter who takes the supply crate into the fallout shelter, as long as it's there when you have 4 people in there and can close the lid. So you might want to just worry about standing all your people outside and bide your time and let your opponent go out and do that and bring the supply crate back, and then jump in and try to kick them out and, get 4 of your people in there and then win the game that way. Or you might want to just try to go for that right away. Get 2 people in there, send them out, get the supply crate back in there, get 2 more people in there, and use some side actions to knock down her people or prevent them from getting in, and just kind of play a king of the hill where you're pushing her one person out each time she gets it in, which is very frustrating for an opponent, but they can do the same thing to you. So for a 5 to 10 minute game in such a tiny container, you can take it anywhere. We've played it at restaurants when we're waiting for foods, and Plays real fast, super easy to teach, lots of fun. Like I said, there's a variant for a solo play or more players than 2, but I think it really works best as a 2-player game. Just a frantic struggle for survival, dice rolling, chaos. And that's really the best way to experience the game. Now, this is on Kickstarter right now. It just hit Kickstarter this week. So if you're watching this video now, it's going to be a 20-day Kickstarter campaign. Go there, check it out. There's more information on the rest of the components. There's some stuff I didn't talk about. There's a play mat that has a nice picture of a city on there, but it's really window dressing. It's not necessary. It's for gameplay at all. And there's going to be some other components in there. They're just little nice additions to the game. But the core of the gameplay is what I'm interested in and what I've shown you in this video. And it's good. It's fun. If you like the micro games, if you like little quick games, if you like dice rolling games, it's definitely something that you want to check out. And I know my daughter and I have really had a lot of fun playing this game. So you should not overlook it just because it sounds very basic or silly. It's worth giving it a shot. So check it out on Kickstarter, Mint Tin Mini Apocalypse. As always, thank you for watching the Cardboard Dungeon. We appreciate all your support and viewerships, and follow us on Twitter at CB Dungeon for notifications and updates and photos on what we're doing. We'll see you next time.